So AEW Double or Nothing has concluded. I recognize I'm a little late to the party. I like to wait to do these to let everything kind of sink in and really think for a minute. I didn't want to do automatic reactions to every single match. I instead wanted to talk about three results that I kind of disagree with. And they're the three results for the three biggest matches on the card. And I don't know, did Tony Khan get his Triple Mania event wrong? Maybe. Double or Nothing will go down as an all-time show with a lot of great wrestling and a lot of amazing storytelling. But let's start with the opener. Jamie Hayter versus Mercedes Moné was a great back-and-forth match. Truly a great story of Jamie Hayter's power versus Mercedes Moné's, I'll say quickness, but also technical ability. Truly another notch on the belt for both women. It was an incredible match. Genuinely awesome. That said, I mentioned in my prediction video that I thought Jamie Hayter should win for a few different reasons. One, it gives the women's division another star if she beats Tony at All In. It would also set the stage for Athena versus Moné 2 at All In, which is another all-time great match. I thought it would widen the women's division a little that much more. Also, Jamie Hayter versus Toni Storm, I think is like an era versus era match I didn't know that we needed. 70s versus like 50s glam star. I just really think it works all the way through. So I was really looking forward to this, but unfortunately, we're not going to be able to go there. Mercedes Moné won, and I get it. You have a baseball stadium to fill out, and easily Mercedes Moné versus Toni Storm is the biggest women's match that you can put on right now. But man, I don't know if that was the right call. Either Toni Storm wins and the title reign continues, or Mercedes Moné collects another belt for collection, and it's just, I don't know about that one. Neither prospect really lights me up that much. Don't get me wrong, it's going to be an amazing match, but I feel like the more exciting option would have been to build other stars. If Athena beats Moné for the TBS championship, and then we have Hayter beating Toni Storm, well, now we have new twins to kind of guide the women's division forward, and Tony can still be Shawn Michaels and Undertaker, still be a major featured role in the women's division and still be a star. Mercedes Moné can maybe go back to the bank and, I don't know, establish the board, get herself, two women's tag team wrestlers to be her heavies and go from there. Up next, we had Anarchy Arena, which was, if we're being honest here, a spot fest, a fun spot fest, but a spot fest nonetheless. It was a great match, a very fun match. And I understand the want to have the baby faces win, the whole, let the bodies hit the floor. Swerve Strickland with the thumbtack shoes was insane. Nicholas Jackson taking One Winged Angel right through an exploding table. Rock solid. The whole Death Riders trapped in the ambulance and being held together that way. They didn't technically lose anything. I get it. Also, the staple gun to the tongue. Just, that one may have been a little far even for me. But nonetheless, the Death Riders lose again? They already lost the trios titles. Now, I know technically Jon Moxley won the steel cage match, and I know technically the Death Riders, none of them got pinned. But I feel like the Death Riders are less credible heels now. And again, I get it. You can argue that because the Young Bucks took the pin, it doesn't take anything from the Death Riders. I get it, but at the same time, I disagree here. I just felt very strongly that heels should be built up. They should be bigger and badder. That way, when they inevitably fall in the future, it makes it worth that much more. But now Jon Moxley has lost, 2 significant matches in the past, 3? In the past, month? 2 months? I just don't know. I don't know about this one. Let me also say real quick before I talk about the main event, I am an AEW stand. I have a poster from the first All In back in 2023. I love AEW. But not the first All In back in 2018. I mean the one that AEW put on in Wembley Stadium. That's what this poster is. But anyway, yeah, so going into this, I was so convinced that Ospreay was going to win. And I've been convinced that Hangman Page winning is the right decision. Well, it's the more right decision, if that makes sense. To me, at least, the idea of Will Ospreay winning, the hot young star in AEW, a guy that can lead the company going forward, a really exciting wrestler that has the crowd in the palm of his hand. He's even said, the people trust me. That's why I want to be the champion, because they believe in me. He seemingly was set up to win the world title multiple times, but he has consistently come up short. Now, maybe that's going to end up being his story going forward. Maybe next year at All In, the Don Callis family is going to offer to help him. Hey, you want to win the big one, right? Maybe we can make sure that can happen. Not a bad idea. The promos leading up to the show gave me a good reason to believe that maybe Ospreay would win. He wants to walk into Forbidden Door with the championship. But Ospreay's had some amazing rivalries and storylines leading into the Owen Hart tournament. However, the company guy being Hangman Adam Page, he has his redemption story. It's been over 2 years of pain, of loss, of psychosis and breaking down. Of Hangman, I think, what was it, last year at All Out, he beat Swerve Strickland, but he kind of walked out, not disappointed, but he wasn't right. He had to go down into a very dark place, and then he had to slowly pull himself back out. The fact that people still cheer for him, even after all the brutal things that he's done, specifically to Swerve Strickland, how MJF said at Revolution, "Why you and not me?" You feel that. We love how depressed and anxious our cowboy is, but because he keeps getting up and keeps going forward, because he is the modern day equivalent of what a man should be. Someone that is in touch with his feelings, his emotions, that is flawed, but that's willing to work on himself and continue to go forward. He's been betrayed by people he thought were friends. He won a championship, but it felt hollow when he carried it, like we were all waiting for the other shoe to drop. Then there was the bullshit with Glass Bones Phil. Then his descension into the darkest version of himself, and him seemingly trying to pick himself back up. He then descended into the darkest version of himself, seemingly tapping out to make sure that Swerve Strickland didn't win the championship last year at Revolution. There's so many layers to his story. There was a line during his promo with Will Ospreay where he said how on Christmas Day, his son opened up his gifts and he was playing with his toys, and his son would look up, and Hangman, all he could wonder is, does he look up at me and see a disappointment? And that shit's heavy. There are so many layers to the story of Hangman Adam Page that it makes sense that he won. Both men were the right choice, but Hangman was the more right choice, to quote Luke Owen. Well, I'll be honest, I still have my reservations. I can see a future where Will Ospreay wins the championship next year at All In back in Wembley Stadium in 2026. But this year, it has to be Hangman Adam Page that defeats Jon Moxley and saves AEW from the Death Riders. It has to. He doesn't have a choice. The next question will be, who will be his next opponent? What's going to be the next chapter in the story of Hangman's redemption? Will Swerve ultimately come to help him? What about Kenny? I can't wait to find out. All that said, what's your prediction for AEW All In this year in Texas? What matches do you think are going to be on the card? Let us know down below. We'd greatly appreciate it, and we'll catch you all next time. We'll see everybody.